If you've ever looked at the Shatter Me series and been completely overwhelmed by the amount of books, novellas, and different reading orders, then this video is for you. Hey besties, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be covering the full reading order and an honest, non-spoiler review of the Shatter Me series. I've read this whole series and some of the novellas, and I'm going to be breaking down the exact reading order, which books are essential, and whether or not this series is worth your time. So Shatter Me is a YA dystopian novel written by Tahira Mafi, and it's mostly known for its unique writing style, the characters, and the romance plot. And I feel like people either love this series or are a little bit confused by it, so let's keep it simple. Now, if you just want the reading order for the 6 main books in the series, then this is how you're going to read them. So the first book is, of course, Shatter Me, and then you will move on to Unravel Me. Then we've got Ignite Me, then we have Restore Me, then it's Defy Me, and then the last book in the main series is Imagine Me. Now, I want you to remember that you can read just the main books of the series and still get the full plot from this and still have a really good experience. But if you want the full reading experience and you do want to read the novellas, then this is the exact order that you're going to read them in. Now, just because this gets a little bit confusing, before we get into that, all of the novellas are in these 2 books. So you've got Unite Me and Find Me, and all of the novellas in the series are actually within these 2 books. So both of these books have 2 novellas each. Okay, so full reading order with novellas included, you start with Shatter Me, and then the first novella, Destroy Me, is within this book, which is called Unite Me. So it's the first half of Unite Me. Then we go back to the main books and the second one, which is Unravel Me. And then we go back to the Unite Me novella book and we read the second one, which is Fracture Me. And then we go back to the main series for 2 books, which are Ignite Me and Restore Me. After Restore Me, you're going to pick up the second novella book, which is Find Me, and you're going to read the first one, which is Shadow Me. So the Shadow Me is the first half of the novella book. Then you pick up another book from the main series, which is Defy Me. And then you read the last novella in the second book, which is Reveal Me. And then you finish off the series with the last book, which is Imagine Me. And then the last novella of the series is Believe Me. And then I believe after that, there is a spin-off series or a spin-off book called Watch Me, which you can read as well, but I haven't read that one. Now, if you want the full reading experience with all of the character POVs and you're absolutely loving the series, I would recommend going for the full reading order with all of the novellas in it. So now we're moving on to whether or not I think the novellas are actually worth your time. Now, I have a little bit of a controversial take on this. I personally think there's actually only one novella that's worth your time, and that one is Destroy Me. The rest of them I didn't find really added all that much to the main storyline, but it did kind of give you a little bit more of a background on some of the characters and their thoughts while things are playing out. The rest of the novellas I would say are completely optional and you don't have to read them, but that's just my honest opinion, and a lot of people actually think that you should read all of the novellas. So for you, I would say just see how you get on with the novellas included, and if you like them, carry on with it, and if you don't really like them, then don't bother, because I stopped reading them after a few pages in of Shadow Me, and then I just decided not to read the rest of the novellas, and I actually had a really good reading experience. So I don't think that the novellas are really that essential to the actual story. I think it can still be a really good series without reading novellas necessarily. Okay, so moving on to my very honest and non-spoiler review of this series. So I actually rated the entire series 3 stars out of 5. For me personally, I really like the writing style. I think it's really unique with the crossed out lines, the metaphors, and the repetition. I think it was really clever the way that it was written. And I did really like the characters. I feel like the characters is what makes this series really special. However, I did find Juliet a little bit annoying. Sometimes I find with reading YA books as an adult that the characters can sometimes be a little bit too YA for me. I don't always love it. I will say that the romance in this book was incredible and I absolutely loved it. I think it was done really well, and it's actually a little bit devastating. If you like slow burn tension, then you're gonna love this. I think you'll probably love this series if you like emotional YA books, dystopian worlds, and character-driven stories, and a lot of messy feelings over imperfect logic. But I do think that if you prefer something that's really sci-fi or really plot-driven, then the series probably isn't going to be you. But if you do just want something that's really easy to read and really easy to binge, this series is going to be perfect. Overall then, I think that the Shatter Me series is imperfect, but also very lovable, and I can completely see why people are absolutely obsessed with this series, especially if you read it when you were younger. I don't think that the series is overhyped, but I do think that it's misunderstood a little bit, and I think you have to go into it with expectations that aren't set too high, because if you go in with really high expectations, I do think you will be disappointed, because I definitely went into this expecting it to be like the most amazing series ever, kind of like Throne of Glass level, and then I was a little bit disappointed, and I think that's why the series overall was only a 3-star instead of like a 4 or 5-star that other people seem to rate it. Let me know in the comments if you've read this series and if you loved it or hated it, and if you want more reading orders and breakdowns like this, then let me know in the comments which series you think I should do next. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye!